Parked my car back at the campground and I'm heading off to do the Bayshore Loop Trail. It's way far on the west side of the campground. I guess there's a Loop A where we're at, and then there's a Loop C which I'm walking through right now. And it looked like it was gonna be a huge campground, but now that I see Loop C, it's not much of a campground. It's just like overgrown completely. I think I just abandoned it. I don't know if they're ever gonna open it. It doesn't look like it's been used forever. I don't see any camp spots. I see the loops where people used to drive, but that's it. It's just super overgrown. So I guess Loop A and then Loop T are the only ones open, not Loop C. I don't know if they'll ever open it. Here we go. This is the Coastal Prairie Hiking Trail, and we're not going to do this whole thing. There's a campsite there. We're just going to do this little loop here. It looks a lot shorter than that now that I see it. But since I have to walk back to here, it's going to be about 2.5 miles round trip. And I'm going to take my time. I brought my binoculars and I'm going to look for birds. And this may, I was going to say this may end quicker than I thought because of this. But looks like that's the trail. They did say it's not maintained at all. Let's see how bad it is. If it's really bad, we'll just turn back. I guess there's an endangered plant they're trying to mitigate damage to, so that they're not performing any trail maintenance. There's a mountain bike trail though, or mountain bike tracks. There's a big branch hanging over the trail. I guess they'd have to get off and push it, but so far so good. Let's see how far we can go. Check it out, it's a beaver tail. They're everywhere. Murky Everglades water off to the sides, and the trail itself has a ton of Spanish moss hanging down over it. The mountain bike tracks look pretty fresh, so probably today, maybe. The trail just suddenly opens up into this coastal prairie. There's some vultures flying around, wide open. It was getting muddier and muddier, like it wasn't watery, but it was getting stickier and deeper. Now it's kind of dried out. Here's a split to the Bayshore Loop. I believe this is the first turn, so we're going to come back that way. We'll turn in here and we'll keep the sun on our left as we go. It seems like this is definitely not maintained and not often traversed from what I see. The main coastal part was relatively clear, and the part coming to the Bayshore itself was a little more overgrown, but now it's covered in seaweed and the water's right over there. You can see some clear sky, and it seems pretty overgrown here. I don't know if I'm gonna keep going. I'm wearing shorts. I can't stop moving though because mosquitoes start coming out again. It's really, I don't know, there's footsteps. I think I could keep doing it. It's not too far. It's really not maintained though. It seems like a lot of the trails are not being maintained because of this one endangered species of plant. Yeah, the boardwalk hikes are easy and good, and they have a lot of people, but it's actually not as many people as you would think for a national park. I guess it is January, but here it's I have to keep an eye out for snakes too, as well as potentially crocodiles. That's saltwater. Look at all the mangroves growing. These are crazy, monstrous plants. I see a bunch of spiderweb to the sides, but I don't see any in front of me. I've been keeping an eye out for them just because there's some big spiders out here, but I haven't seen any yet. So I think someone's been through within a day. Earlier today, one of those tricolored herons just flew off. I thought I heard him splash down. I don't see him though. Those mangroves really hide you well. From the boat tour, I learned that she said one of the most often asked questions she gets is which is more dangerous, a crocodile or an alligator? And she said it depends on which one is closest to you, and also depending on what time is mating season, or not necessarily mating season, but when they have babies that they're tending. But generally the crocodiles can go up to 20 feet They're generally 13 to 14 feet long, which will be about 4 meters long. But they generally are not into people at all. They prefer little animals, tiny animals like people's yap dogs and fish and small birds. So they don't really attack humans, so they're not really as dangerous. And she said that's why they allow kayakers to run around here. The All Trails reviews for this trail were saying how bad the bugs were even in December. Like, even if you use bug spray, they don't care. And so far, yeah, as soon as I stopped, mosquitoes hovered in me. But it's also been really windy here, so it's pretty nice. Here it's not as windy as away from the woods. But overall, a lot less mosquitoes. It's not too bad, not too bad. I got bit a few times already, but it's just each time I stop. But there's so many nice places to stop along the way. Nice beach. Limestone bed. No crocodiles. Could have been a chance of some. We've started to head away from the water, so I think we're going back up north to the coastal prairie trail itself. Yeah. Whew, there are a lot of mosquitoes in there. Ooh, there's like a geological marker. Let's take a picture, read what it says. I'm gonna try to high point somewhere. We made it to the end of the loop, and we're gonna head back. There's just, I don't know exactly if they're turkey vultures or not, but these vultures are everywhere. There was a dead shark. I'm surprised they weren't ripping that thing to shreds. They're just flying everywhere. Oh man, it's sticky mud. Sticky mud. I'm gonna have to find a stick when I get to camp. Clean out my shoes. Oh, it's sticky mud. It hasn't rained for days. I guess the ground is just still saturated wet. Super flat. It's so flat that you could drive over a pass called Reef Rock Pass, and it's a whole whopping 3 feet in elevation. We are low, and it's so flat, it's just holding the water. It's the Everglades. It's a pretty unique walk though. I think a bug flew along. Just this open prairie. This one doesn't seem to be like an Everglades type thing. I don't see a bunch of those white ibises or great herons anywhere. I see nothing. Just a whole lot of plants. There are quite a few of these prickly pears. There's another one there. There's another one there. And there's another one there. When I first read about this campsite, they said they had solar water heaters. And I thought they were just gonna be like big black tanks I've seen, like elevated big black tanks where it soaks up some of the sun. They have these guys. These are actually much higher tech than that. I've seen them in houses and also businesses where it preheats the water to a pretty good temperature and then you pump it in. So it actually works pretty well. Yeah, I really thought it was gonna be those big black tank that's on stands that just soaks up a little bit of heat, not a lot, bearable, but these are actually pretty warm. I also thought a lot of these sites were just gonna be out in the open, exposed, but there are a lot of thick trees here, and the thick trees are made even thicker by all the Spanish moss. It makes it really thick, so I actually get a lot of shade. It's going to be in the sun soon, but it's going to be weaker because it's lower, but for a while it was like just perfect. Up by the amphitheater, and there's a osprey nest right by the parking lot. I was going to spend the last hour and a half of the sun here and get a time lapse of the sunset, although there aren't any clouds at all. But it's crazy how short this osprey nest is. There's a tree and there's a trunk. And it's also right next to the road. It's quite a busy area for a nest, but it's close to the water. You can just make out the top of her head when she moves. That's it though. She's sitting on her eggs, so where I was before at the amphitheater, and the tides come in. I forgot about the tides. I didn't load up any tide charts, so I don't know when it's high or low or if this is gonna get higher. But the shark is gone. It's under the water now. I wonder if it's going to get swept away overnight. Maybe the crabs will get to it. But oddly enough, with the water deeper, all the birds are gone. There was a lot more activity earlier. There were pelicans and ibises and tricolored herons. There's all kinds of things going on. Tons of pelicans, but now there's not much. And you can see the water is really ripply because it's still windy. But nothing's going on. No ospreys flying ahead. Not the best. I guess maybe low tide's the time to come if you want to come here to see the birds. Good morning. Here we are at Mahogany Hammock. This is my first stop as I just drive around through the park and just making all these stops. But this is a short little boardwalk. Look at all these parking spots. I'm the only one here. It's a good thing too because there's no bathroom here. It should be a really short little walk. I'm just gonna do a little quickie. I'm gonna head to the other spots. There's a lot of little lakes you can pull off to. It seems like it's very kayak and canoe focused, like boating. So I won't be able to do those at all. I don't want to go kayaking alone out here, but these little walks will do just fine. Hopefully we'll see something if I pay attention, but I'm always taking this with me now just to look for things like that, like the owl there. 0.4 miles. I think I might be slightly off, but a hammock is like basically a canopy of trees, usually created in a spot that's slightly more elevated. It only has to be slightly more elevated to not be soaking wet. And I guess the acid from the tree rot dissolves the limestone around it and creates like a moat around the hammocks. So there's like a really wet area as we approach here. And now to the left, as you can see, it's just all tall trees. Big trees, and it's dry on the surface. I'll try to zoom in so you can see it, but there are these things here that look like pineapple trees that just grow randomly in trees. They don't like feed off the trees, they feed off the air and the rainwater, but they get pretty big and they look like little pineapple trees. I forget the exact name, like a Friliac or something. I'll have to look it up, but they told us about that in the boat tour. But they get much bigger than that one. That one's a small one. Can you believe it got down to 54 degrees this morning? Right now, no mosquitoes are bothering me and I have to wear a jacket because it's still quite cold, especially in the shade. Wind has died down, but it's a very cool morning for the Everglades. I thought maybe this is a cedar, but look at that one. That thing's like end to end 3 feet, 2 to 3 feet long. It's a huge one and it's growing off the side. And there's another cluster of them up there. Gigantic. There's more up there. They're all over the place. I guess they like really like textured barky trees because the seeds will wedge themselves into the cracks, and also the water kind of sits in the cracks, so it feeds off the water. But that's a monster one. Wow. Nope, it's a mahogany tree. There's an odd flower. It looks like it's growing out of the leaf, but it's actually went through the leaf, through a hole in the leaf, and it's down there. There's a stem there. It goes down to there, but it grew through the leaf, so it's going through a hole in the leaf. Very bizarre. Beautiful flower though. Have you noticed there's a tree there, and there's this different tree here that's a strangler fig. I guess that's what I've been seeing before, but it's like just wraps completely around the other trunk. It just encapsulates it, like replaces it. It's insane. Oh, alligator on the side of the road. While driving around the park, keep an eye out because alligators do lie right next to the road. Next up today is Paheoki Trail, 0.2 miles, and there's an observation deck. We'll check it out. By the way, on the drive here, I saw 2 alligators, but I'm going too fast to stop and look. There's probably a bunch of alligators just living in these waters somewhere. I wouldn't even know. I thought a lot of these trees are dead, but these are called bald cypress trees. in the winter they lose all their needles to cope with the reduced water, not because of cold or anything. Pretty interesting. They look pretty dead, right? Just a whole bunch of white. Yeah, but they lose all their needles, and then their needles rot and then produce acid in the water, which further erodes the limestone, which makes the water deeper so they can live better. I thought it was they're all sick or something, but just part of winter. Amazingly enough, we're going up, so this is the highest we've been in a long time. We're like almost 6 feet, 8 feet off the ground. You can see the limestone floor down there. It's gotta be less than a foot deep. And it's 8 miles wide here. It's pretty wild. They call it a river. It's an 8-mile wide river that are just inches deep. And all the plant life just filters out the water as it heads out towards the Gulf. Next up on our stop is Pinelands Trail, just like 0.4 miles loop. I guess you're different habitats. Devil's Potato looks cool. Looks like a ninja star. Hopefully we see him, but it's probably not the right time of year. I was reading that this is part of the drylands. There used to be a lot more drylands that used to go all the way up to Miami. But since, what was it, the early 1900s, 95% of it has been developed. So this is the last remaining bit. You know, not the only bit, but shared among some other areas. But good old national parks preserving it. When you think of Florida, you don't really think of giant pine trees, but there they are. It's definitely not as dense as the West Coast, but nice long tall ones, straight ones. Interestingly, they say that hardwoods invade this area and will eventually take over unless there are fires. So these pines, they're called slash pines, depend on fires to keep the hardwood trees in check and keep them burnt away. I guess these are more resilient against fire than the hardwoods, like the mahoganies. Next up is Westlake Trail. Pretty short, 0.4 miles. Do a loop and come on back. But I think there should be good viewing over there. Well, I brought my binoculars, so we're gonna sit and look around for a while. Right, they're called bromeliads. There's that one we saw before, and there's one right up above us. But I guess 2 species of mosquitoes depend on those tanks because water collects in there. So curses, right there. Stop breeding mosquitoes. That is a nice big one. It's on the side of the tree. Wow, it's really opening up. It's a big old lake. Wow. Wow. That's a nice boardwalk. Very nice. Whoop.
Fish or whatever's in the water.
So that there is a water moccasin. First
so
water
now
moccasin.
They're
plenty of
short.
food.
They're about a full-grown adult.
I've been running over and pointing out the snake to everyone. I guess it's like a juvenile water moccasin. There's still a few people there taking a look at it. It's tiny and it's so hard to see. I'm amazed that I actually spotted it at all. One of the things I enjoy is actually spotting animals that nobody else has. Like if you see a car pulled over on the side of the road, it's like, yeah. But if you see it, it's like, yeah, I saw it. I enjoy that a lot. Not fair. This boardwalk has holes in it. And when the light's shining on it, do you see that log? Kind of gives it the texture of an alligator. I thought it was one, but it's not. There is an alligator just off the side of the main road. Heads out. It's nice that they like the sun because then they're more likely to be seen. If they just hang out in the shadows, yeah, you'd probably just drive right by, but they love sitting out in the sun. That's a big old boy. I wonder if that's the one I saw this morning, still here. Just hiding a little more. There's a couple of idiots in front of me blowing a whistle at it, trying to get it to move or something. This osprey has a huge fish with him. He's just standing on a tree limb.
I wonder how he is going to eat that fish.
I wonder if he's trying to regain his energy before he wants to fly back to the nest. That thing's pretty big.
You guys see the crocodile?
Yep. That is a huge fish. At any moment he might fly off. Maybe he's waiting for it to die.
Yeah, I think so.
So it won't flap around so much. Oh, goodbye fish. He's starting to rip at it. It's an osprey. I never thought I'd get so much time to watch ospreys fish and eat from so close, and it was a pleasure taking as much time as I wanted for the experience. I must have been there an hour watching it eating, and even used binoculars the entire time. This guy's waiting underneath the fish. He's looking straight up every once in a while. He's hoping the osprey drops pieces of it or something. Yesterday they were here, and today the little guy looks like he didn't even move. The big guy's further down. Can't see his teeth though. They really love this boat dock. One fisherman was saying that he thought maybe someone put fake crocodiles here because they're always here, but they're real. So the osprey I was watching eating fish for like an hour flew over here because a couple of crows are harassing it, and he's on the left side eating the fish now. I'm kind of glad though, because when he's done the other one could eat it. Otherwise he probably would have dropped it or something, and maybe the crow would have gotten it. I was actually thinking if he dropped it and a crow or a seagull tried to eat it, I'd pick it up and throw it away. Third osprey. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a good night. He's eating a fish.